She still can't even stand.
She's so wobbly.
Zhang Weili is furious.
She's upset. But 100%.
Oh, welcome in everyone to a brand new edition of Axe Kick Picks, episode 69. And Joe, no better episode for UFC 295. Today is November 10th, 2023. As always, I'm your host, D-Rock, and joining me from the golf capital of the world, my good friend Joey D. Joey, how you doing today, kid?
Doing great, feeling better. Man,
Yeah.
Number 5 in the world once again on one Friday Fights 40, baby. So we're off to a great start.
Let's fucking go. How many did you? 5 in the world? How many are on verdict? Millions?
I don't know, man. I want to say millions, but a lot of users, take it from a pool all over the world. And man, I hit 2 on the head, but I wound up 5th in the world. So let's go.
No big deal. Don't shrug it off your shoulders, kid. I love it. Before we get into, we got a banger of an episode. Like I said, UFC 295. Got some MMA news towards the end. But Joe, let's start it off with Gamebred Bare Knuckle Boxing 6. In Mississippi, we got Roy Nelson taking on Alan Blanchard. To kick us off with the main event, quick play.
Yeah, since it's tonight, same thing we did last week, even though I faded Jonathan Haggerty and I'm kicking myself for it. I like you said, I got to go with Big Country in the main event slot here for Gamebred Bare Knuckle MMA. He's taking on fellow UFC alum Alan Belcher, but I'm expecting fireworks in that one. You get grappling involved, and I think they could get some better chokes in without the glove. So, man, Big Country could do it all. BJJ black belt, he's got that knockout power. I can't fade a dog in this spot. Give me Big Country.
I love it. And, Jorge Vazadov, he just beat his case. Shout out him against Colby Covington. He's flirting with coming back in 2024. He's a promoter now. I mean, you've made it out to a bare knuckle event. We got to make it out to one of these Gamebred if he makes it around our neck of the woods. You got a banger of a main event. You got Jason Knight taking on Randy Costa. Our boy Chase Sherman, he's fighting in it as well. But
there's a lot of names.
Man, what happened?
A lot of names. Yeah. I don't recognize any name in the other Friday event, which is Khabib's promotion.
Nonetheless, it should be very interesting. Gamebred Boxing tonight in Mississippi on YouTube. He's actually promoting it free. So if you guys want to just go out and watch it, it's a free plug right there on his YouTube page. So go check it out. But Joe, we got a great show for you today. We'll recap St. Paulo. It was an okay card. I thought it kind of was a little underwhelming.
Dragged a little.
Yeah, dragged a little, correct. UFC 295 at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden tomorrow on a very important day. Shout out all the veterans on Veterans Day. So we got some MMA news towards the end of the show, and Joe will kick off the rest of his picks for the week in the 10 seconds left. But Joe, let's start with the heavyweight division in St. Paulo. Jailton Almeida, dominant performance over the big back beast, Derek Lewis. Unanimous decision, 50-44 times 2, 50-45 was the other scorecard. Jailton Almeida, he recorded the most control time in the heavyweight fight in history, 21 minutes against Derek Lewis. I thought, it's hard to gain mount position, and I thought he gained it so easily. Why wasn't he able to put away Derek Lewis?
Derek Lewis is tough. The dude can just get up. And I think you can consider what Jailton did to Derek Lewis an overall win because he was able to keep him down. And like I said, Derek Lewis just gets up. So, man, I just think Derek Lewis is a tough cookie. He's not grappler first or oriented towards that. But, man, does he have the ability to get out of scrambles, get out of submissions? And he's just, I honestly think that the shape of him, like the roundness, like, he could just ball up and deny chokes and deny locks, and he's tough enough to do so as well. I just think you got to look at it as if Jailton was able to keep Derek Lewis down, that's an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah, a lot of people were sweeping that under the rug, saying it was boring. But if he goes out there and starches his next opponent, everyone's going to forget. At the end of the day, it is a dub.
Path of least resistance right 100%. There. I mean, that was his best way to win, and he did it. I mean, we don't blame DC for doing it back in the day to Derek Lewis. That's exactly what he did. You thought you would stand and beg with Derek Lewis? That's a recipe for disaster for anybody. So,
yeah,
no.
And shout out Derek Lewis, though, because he was trying to swing, and I thought he did make one connection during an attempt of a double. But when he locks those hands, I don't think anyone is stopping it. So he did call out Cyril Gane. which I understand from his perspective, but I think after that performance, you need to schedule Curtis Blades, the best wrestler in the division, in my opinion, maybe regardless of Jailton Almeida or John Jones. I think you run it back, see what he's made of, and then fight Cyril Gane. I don't think he deserves a Cyril Gane fight right now.
Yeah, I think he'll be jumping ahead a little bit, unfortunately, because I think we had higher expectations for Jailton, but he kind of hurt himself. He shot himself in the foot, so to speak, even though he did everything he could. And, I was leaning the decision. You get a lot of points. We would have had a lot of plus money for you there. But, man, I was just hoping that he would get it done early. It would have helped him more. Yeah, he needs to face someone who's as skilled as a grappler as himself, who possibly has better striking, and that would be Curtis Blades, who was originally supposed to be the matchup here. Man, Cyril Gane, it would actually favor Jailton. I'd be honest. I wouldn't like that matchup for Cyril Gane because we saw what he did improve his takedown defense and his takedowns in his last fight, but we saw what happened with John Jones. And if we're going to consider the level of grappling, Jailton Almeida very well may be up there.
100%. And he only moved 2 spots in the division with that win against Derek Lewis. He's now 7th in the world in the heavyweight, and he'd still be fighting Curtis Blades, who's a top 5 heavyweight in the world. I think that is the move. I know, hey, calling out the number one heavyweight in the world in Cyril Gane, I get it, but I think it's reaching a little too much. Now, if he went out there and submitted him in the first minute, 2 minutes, I think there's more of a case to be made, but I get it. Control time was amazing. Still a dominant performance, but I do think he does need one more fight.
Yes, sir.
Fight of the night. Shout out the Danish Nicholas Dalby. Plus 470, Joe. You and I broke that fight to a T. If Gabriel Bonfim did not get the submission in the first round, Nicholas Dalby is a dog, and he was
taking over.
Took it over. Those knees to the body. He just crumbled like a little girl, Gabriel Bonfim. What a performance by Nicholas Dalby. Fight of the night. Joe, it doesn't matter how we did during the night. We hit a plus 470, baby.
Hey, I'm glad we hit that massive dog, man, and he deserves his flowers. Nicholas Dalby has been a stalwart in the division for as long as I can remember. And, yeah, man, at the end of the day, that was the biggest hit of the night. I actually did good, and the parlay hit for us, but man, I was just so wrapped up with Nicholas Dalby getting that victory.
Yeah, 100%. He stole the show because it was kind of underwhelming prior to that knockout in the second round. You had you had about 2 back-to-back decisions, which I thought was kind of...
They were lackluster. They absolutely were.
We saw some
showcase of the skills between Rodrigo Nascimento and Caio Borralho, but man, like you said, even with the main event, these fights dragged. It was unfortunate.
Yeah. It was very unfortunate. Only 2 finishes in the main card. You had the Nicholas Dalby one, and then a performance of the night by Elvis Brenner.
That was a knockout. That was a knockout. And the other one, too, Flatline with Vitor Petrino, man. I'll be, candidates. People were arguing that they were kind of normal knockouts. But I got to say that the meme-like quality of the opponents and the way they fell, that's why they could be considered knockout of the year, because I think that matters as well.
Yeah, Vitor Petrino, what a fucking finish that was early in the second round. He another guy that you mentioned, performance of the night, he gets the bonus. Elvis Brenner, I thought. Yeah, Angela Hill, shout out Angela Hill. I broke that one. Denise Gomes, she didn't have what it took. Angela Hill, I thought, won all 3 rounds.
Angela Hill is a future champion.
I love Angela Hill now, but
let's pump the brakes on that.
I will say her resistance and resurgence of her second win in the UFC. If you look at her record, it's not going to blow away, but she's in there with some fucking killers. So I know there's not really like a true MMA kind of Hall of Fame, but Angela Hill should be knocking on that, I feel like. And you know what else? Another girl, I think Jessica Andrade. I've been saying it earlier in the year. I think she's another woman that should be knocking on that door, and I'll keep knocking on that door for her. But yeah, big win for Angela Hill. The rest of the card, like you said, a little underwhelming. We had some finishes. Caio Borralho had every opportunity to defeat and finish Abus, but didn't get the win. He didn't get the finish, excuse me. Got the win, unanimous decision over him. What were your other standouts in this fight?
All kind of like blew everyone as well, because it was an exciting first round and an exciting third round. But when they came out on the judges' scorecards, we had a majority draw between Renat Fakhretdinov and Elizu Dos Santos Zaleski. So I thought it was a good fight, and I scored it in my own manner. But yeah, a lot of people were, on different sides with that one.
100%. But Joe, you said you did well. We hit on the plus 470 and Nicholas Dalby. What was your end of the week record?
Man, brother, my overall record was 5-3, and I hit the 2-leg parlay at plus 110. But, the highlight of the night, as we mentioned before, Nicholas Dalby stealing the show, breaking everyone's hearts, and we broke it down to a T. Shout out Nick Dalby, baby.
Hit on 2 dogs. Angela Hill gets the win. Kaya Brahallo via submission doesn't get there. I took Nascimento on the money line, minus 186. That gets there. Little chalky. Nicholas Dalby gets the win, plus 470. And then obviously jail time didn't get the submission. So 3-2. But I will say, we don't have to recap it, but Crown Jewel was beautiful for the kid. I'm talking about. I hit on everything but one fight.
Yeah, I had to play opposite to you, and I just got the one right, though. The one I was most confident in, Solo Sikoa.
Oh, that's your boy. You knew him. You've seen him fight. But how you can't blame me for going with my boy, the GOAT.
No. Overall, man, I think it was a good weekend. I know, we had a lackluster UFC, but between every event that took place, I think it really geared us up for this week.
100%. UFC 295, like I said, going down tomorrow at the world's most famous arena. We will get into the whole card, picks, and preview in just a sec. But before then, a quick word from our sponsor. We are brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer, the most refreshing hard seltzer on the market, hands down. It's no wonder why Viva was voted #1 hard seltzer in the world by San Francisco World Spirit Competition. With only 88 calories, 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and a light 4.5 ABV, Viva is the perfect drink for your post-game celebrations, as it was created with that active lifestyle in mind. We flavor tequila seltzer because flavor is the spice of life, and we like our drinks with just a kick, just like how we like our lives. Whether it's Huckleberry playing a round of golf with the boys or an elderberry on a Saturday night watching UFC 295, it doesn't matter. Our favorites pair perfectly with the Artisanal Blanco tequila for that subtle and refreshing drink. Our belief here at Axe Kick Picks and at Viva is to live long, live well, and live it up. All right, Joe, let's get into it. UFC 295 headline by Yuri Prohaska taking on Alex Pereira. We also have a vacant heavyweight title between Sergey Pavlicek and Tommy Aspinall. 2 fighters missed weight, 20% purse penalty for both. My boy Roosevelt, he did step in on short notice. Roosevelt Roberts missed weight by 2 or 3 pounds, and Jamal Emmers missed weight by 1 pound. So
figures.
Yeah, figures. Dennis Bazooka and Matus Rebecca. Hopefully I'm not butchering that. The fights are on. It's just going to be at a catch weight right now.
Joe, and they accept the purse, right?
Yes, they get the 20%. So, Joe, I will let you lead it off. First fight of the night. What do you got, kid?
Right on. And you mentioned a name, Dennis Bazooka, taking on Jamal Emmers, who now, to my knowledge, has missed weight. And I guess I was on a good track to begin with, because I know a lot of people on the side of Jamal Emmers, maybe because of the losses that he's had in his past, but I don't see how he could come out victorious facing a hometown kid here. I've heard a lot of people talk about the durability of Dennis Bazooka, and I think that's going to play a factor here, because if he puts the pressure on and he starts receiving some shots from Jamal, I think he's going to have to walk through it to find a way to victory here. And so I'm taking the dog early, man. The dogs are barking to begin with. Give me Bazooka plus 240. First play of the night. Big dog.
Long Island kid, Sarah Longo. Let's get it.
Absolutely. And right now, I think Jamal Emmers is a big favorite. He's about a minus 244. It's swelling as much as minus 255. So I'm on the other side. I gotta take the dog. Let's go right into the next fight. And it's an interesting one here, man. If you look at the rankings of these guys and the worldwide, Josh Van is a way more accomplished fighter in this division. And Kevin Borges, coming off the Dana White Contender Series, is just making a name for himself. Odds for Josh Van is minus 225 right now. And Kevin Borges is a dog around plus 200, $2 dog. D, I'm going to hand it off to you, my man. Who you got in this second fight of the night?
Yeah, flyweight unders are back, Joe. Let's have a little fun here. Both of these dudes are finishers, and I know both of their last fights went to the scorecards, went to the judges, but before that, they have never went the distance. Joshua Van has never seen the third round up until his last fight. I think this one's going to be very exciting from the start. Think they set the tone early of the night. Give me under 2.5 rounds at -112.
I love the total. I love the underplay. I do think we're going to get a lot of finishes on this card. I really do.
Yes,
and I'm going to go specific with a side. I got the big dog from, you know what I like, Mr. Tuesday Night, Dana White Contender Series alum, Kevin Borjas, Peru, baby, plus 200. Give me it. I'm taking him.
I love it. I was siding with him too. I was like, Joe always, when I saw he was a Peruvian fighter, I was like, Joe's going to touch it. I knew
it. Absolutely, man. So I'm glad we talked about that one. Let's get into the next fight. And we're getting the return of Kung Ho Kong. He's taking on John Sexy Mekisi Castaneda. And I mean, if you look at this matchup, it's another banger. I think the UFC knew what they were doing when putting together this MSG card for UFC 295. And I'm going to go and take it away here. I like the dog again. I know it sounds crazy to think, but the dude has a lot of first-round finishes, and I think that's where Castaneda is going to be most vulnerable. So I'm not taking him straight up. I'm going to take a prop with him. I'm taking Kong with the round 1 win at plus 900. I think we're getting on the board early. I think we're going to make you guys money early. Don't get me wrong. Castaneda, you know, he came out victorious against Moon Gafarev, but he got absolutely finished by Saeed Nurmagomedov in his last thing. So I don't know the level of the opponent he last fought where he had taken to decision. Kong, on the other hand, has been finishing people in the first round. So I got to go with that trend. I'm taking he gets it done again. Round 1 win plus 900.
Let's fucking go. We hit that on the night. We are smoothing.
Oh, yeah. Rolling right along. And then going into the featured prelim of the early prelim. So we got the return of Flash Jared Gordon, and he's taking on the Olympian Mark O. Madsen. And I know a lot of people are, you know, they're on the side of Marco Madsen. I know he's a dog right here about plus 167 because, you know, the Olympian background, he can find a way to implement his game and take him down and hold him down. And I think that's as far as it gets. If he keeps continuing the trend that I see in the past of him being able to, you know, control opponents but not submit them, I think it's going to spell trouble in this one. I think this is the comeback fight for Flash Gordon here. I really think he's going to get back on track, and I have him straight up at minus 175. Right now, I'm seeing he is the favorite for a reason. He's swelling up to minus 200. I think I'm safe with that bet. Not only am I going to take it straight up at minus 175, he's going to be my first leg of a 2-leg back on track parlay, and it'll come to understanding later in the breakdown of this card why that is.
I love it. Yeah, give me Jared Gordon here as well, straight up on the money line. This is more of a fade of Marco Madsen, who I know, like you said, that's all I've been hearing, his Olympic background, and don't get me wrong, that is very accomplishing. I mean, to be honest, you heard DC make the comparison that it's better than being a champion in Glory Kickboxing, but Marco Madsen is getting up there in age, and I just don't think if he decides to stand with Jared Gordon, he's going to get picked apart. I think Jared Gordon has the advantage on his feet. I think he has more ways to win. And I just think this is a good bounce back spot for Gordon. You saw with the clash of heads in his last fight. It's a little juicy here. I got it at minus 190, Joe, but I think the juice is worth the squeeze. Give me Jared Gordon on the money line, minus 190.
I like it. I think he has all the tools to get this done. And, you know, like you said with Madsen about DC commenting on it, I think he was throwing shots at Alex low-key, because if you're saying that, you know, the Olympian just getting into the Olympics is more than being in the Hall of Fame of Glory, I think that's incorrect. I think, you know, you can make it as a low-level Olympian and be in the Olympics, but I think he was saying those champions in Glory Kickboxing, even UFC champions, they wouldn't make the Olympic team. And I think that's what he basically was saying. Which is a good assessment, but he didn't word it that way. And to kind of delegitimize a Hall of Fame, especially in a specific sport of kickboxing, there's only 3 in Glory, and that's Alex Pereira, Bazooka Joe, and Shemi Schlitt, which is a murderer's row. And to kind of say that they aren't deserving is asinine in my
and it's also bad tasting from DC as well.
DC has been the Hall of Fame gatekeeper as of late. I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah, he's trying to take our boy Jim Miller out of the Hall of Fame. Are you kidding me?
No, man, we're hoping we get Jim Miller against Paul Felder at UFC 300. Come on now.
Oh, baby.
let's go into the first fight of the prelims because we just talked about the early prelims. I got Nazim, the Black Wolf Sadikov, taking on Vyacheslav Borshev, your boy. And the odds right now, Sadikov minus 120, excuse me. And Borshev is like a plus 120. But I'm going to hand it over to you. What do you take it in this one?
Yeah, Joe, I had a hard time picking the side on this one because I really like both of these fighters. You know, Nazim, another Serra-Longo boy, Long Island, right in our backyard. But Slavokos, man, just look at his journey from Russia, coming over at Alpha Male, literally having just $3,000 to his name, giving all of his money, and then banking on this. He got a contract. And now he's an American citizen. He's a Russian dancer. Like, the guy's just amazing. So it was hard to pick a side in this one. So instead, I took a look to the under 2.5 rounds at minus 139. If you ever watched my boy Slava fight, if the fight stands on his feet, he's probably going to knock you out, to be honest. His hands are crisp, and he has really good footwork. On the other hand, Nazim Sadikov, he has finishing capabilities as well. 9 of his 10 fights have been finished. I think this fight stands on his feet, and most likely someone will get slept. I lean my boy Slavokos via KO TKO at plus 250, but official play is under 2.5 rounds at minus 139.
I like your take on it, my man, and I think it's a sharp bet for taking the total once again in this one because I'm expecting fireworks. I really am throughout this card. I really would say if we could do a percentage, I think we're going to have a greater than 50% of finishes in this one. More than half the fights are probably going to end inside the distance. So with this one, I am expecting the same. So I do like that. I would actually lean or probably tell you with the total, but I am going to fade you in the person to pick. I do like Nazim Sadikov. Like you said, he's a local guy, so he doesn't have to travel all that well. I do get the story of Slavokos, and he does have that finishing capability, but I haven't seen him have too much success on the ground and in his grappling. That's where I think the X factor lies. Nazim has great grappling, and, you know, out of Serra-Longo, they're drilling amazing submissions over there. Matt Serra is one of the best. So, man, I really think that Nazim is his fight to lose. And I like I said, I do side with you with the under, but right now I got to take who is a slight favorite, Nazim Sadikov, the Black Wolf, to continue his tear.
Let's go.
All right, right into the next one. I got Mateusz Rebecki coming in and taking on a short notice replacement of Roosevelt Roberts. All respect in the world to Roosevelt Roberts for taking this one. Unfortunately, you mentioned he did miss weight, but the dude's a massive dog. He's almost trending towards a $5 dog, and Rebecki is about a $6 favorite here. My man, I got to go with the big favorite, unfortunately. You know, sometimes I do side with those who miss weight because, you know, you have that advantage, unfortunately, but the dude stepped in on short notice, so I don't think you could blame Roosevelt Roberts all too much. But I have a sneaky play in this one because I think what we saw in the last outing from Rebecki was he had the ability to, you know, leg kick, and the ability on the feet was outstanding. But, bro, look at his record. He has a lot of wins via submission. If he's going to stand with Roosevelt Roberts, he needs to be aware of Roosevelt Roberts' knockout ability as well. And I think, once again, path of least resistance is what you use to get victories, and that's what he's going to do. I got Rebisty, baby, via submission at plus 250. I got a prop in there for you.
I love it. Yeah, we saw it. We saw it in not the Contender Series, the Ultimate Fighter, where Roosevelt Roberts, if he pieces you up, you feel his strength and you feel his power. So yeah, he does have to worry about that. But I agree to your point you just made about the other fight. I think we're gonna see fireworks here. I think the people are gonna show up for this card.
Yeah, and you know the people in New York of MSG are gonna blow that roof off. You know that's a fact.
100%.
I think this is the people's main event right here. We got the baby star Tabitha Ricci taking on Lupi Godinez. And, man, last outing from both of these competitors, awesome. They look great. I got to give you my play before I hand it over. I got this fight going to distance. I think this is one of the most high-level fights on the card, to be completely honest with you. These two women are some of the most high-level fighters in their division. And I think that's what you're going to get. I think you're going to get some of the best technical striking out of it. If it winds up going to the ground, I think you're going to get a clash of wrestling and BJJ. And I think the line is a little off. I think it should be more close to a pick'em. So my fight to go to distance is minus 325. That is my lock of the night. I really think that's what we're getting. I really think we're going to see very highly, highly technical matchup, very close. Tabitha Ricci's a dog at plus 145 I'm seeing here, and Lupi's a minus 145. Like I said, I think that's a little off. I think it's a lot closer than that.
Yeah, so for me in this play, gonna go back to the well with this one, Joe. Give me Lupi Godinez on the money line over Baby Shark. She just looks so impressive in her last fight against Reed. We know Ricci, she's probably gonna try and wrestle with her, but Godinez is a wrestler herself, and she could probably negate most of those takedowns. And when the fight stays standing, I think she does have the striking and power advantage over Tabitha Ricci. She applies a lot of pressure as well, and I think she gets a decision win. I agree on your take the fight to go to decision. I'd even sprinkle a little on Lupi Godinez to win via decision, but it's with her on the money line, -165. As long as it's under $2, that's my price range. So I'm going to play it safe. Lupi Godinez on the money line, -165, but I will co-sign your the play fight to go to the decision.
You know, I'll be honest with you. I did have Lupi before this. I do like Tabitha Ricci a lot. I think she's super talented. And my concern about pulling off of that was, you know, Elise Reed does tend to make people look really good. So I don't know if it's a case of that or if Lupi has hit a new stride. So that's why I did kind of fade myself in picking a side, and I went with this being the ability to go to distance. So let's go with, you know, a lot of fights have moved around in this card. Let's go into what would be the featured bout of the prelims here. And it's surprising because, like I said, a lot of fights have moved around. But we got Steve Erceg taking on Alessandra Costa. Erceg about a -140. Costa, dog, stepping on short notice at a +135. I think the lines are swaying into Erceg's favor. Continue being the favorite, but I think there's a reason the UFC saw this. Erceg has a lot of finishes. Costa has a lot of finishes. I think the UFC put it as a featured prelim because you're going to get a finish in this. And since I didn't pick a side, I do have the fight ending inside the distance at -105. That's my official play.
I love it. Yeah, no play for me here.
Not a problem, brother. But I had to get that out off my chest quickly in early prelims and the prelims so we can make our way to the main event of UFC 295 in Madison Square Garden, the Mecca. I mean, I'm hyped. I know.
You're lost for words.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only question is, I skipped over my. Did you see Matt Frivola's fight prior to Pat Sabatini's fight against Diego Lopez, or was it the opposite?
No, I always saw Diego Lopez and Pat Sabatini opening the main.
They're
card.
opening up the card. All right, all right. Hey, so let's go on to that fight. We're gonna start opening the main card with the Pat Sabatini versus Diego Lopez fight. All credit to Diego Lopez for stepping in once again on short notice, sort of. He's a dog in this one. He's +110 dog, and Pat Sabatini is a -115 favorite. I think the line is sort of right. We've seen more of a resume from Pat Sabatini, his ability to grapple, and you know Diego Lopez. He got caught in some submissions against Movsar Evloev, and he got Movsar in some of submissions of his own, but he wasn't able to close the show. So that gives me a pause on what we're going to expect in this one. You know, I think they wanted to open up a card with the bang, but I got a play for you here. I got over 2.5 rounds at +140. I think a lot of people are expecting a finish, but if both guys can negate each other's game, I think that's exactly what you're getting. I think you're getting either a late finish or you're getting a decision fight in the opener of UFC 295. So my official play is the over 2.5 rounds at +140, but I did take Sabatini on my verdict.
Give me the dog, our boy Diego Lopez. Does he have the best hair in the UFC or the worst hair in the UFC? I'll let you decide. But, man, I haven't met a single guy or single person, for that matter, that dislikes Diego Lopez. He's just a very likable guy.
Absolutely.
Taking this kind of, like you said, kind of on short notice. And he's a people's guy. You know, he's for the people. He got a huge pop in Newark at 288 from everyone. We were live there. So, if I'm being honest, Joe, and we'll break the fourth wall, this is a pure heart play. I like Pat Sabatini. Don't get me wrong. He's a cool Philly guy right over I-95, but I think the vibes are going to be high here with Lopez kicking off the main card. Give me Diego Lopez on the money line +100.
I'll be surprised to see because, you know, even though we think he's a local guy, you know, that they might be booing Pat Sabatini based out of Philly here. And if some people had gone to the Newark card earlier this year, if they're at this MSG card, yeah, they might be rooting Diego Lopez because he certainly saved us for 288.
100%.
Let's get into the next fight. And I don't think you have anything on this, which is a shock to me. I really thought we'd be rolling on the same wavelength on this one. But we got Steamroller Matt Frivola at +190. Big dog against BSD, Benoit Saint Denis. What is his other nickname though?
Seek and destroy.
Seek and destroy. The War Bringer or something like that. I don't know, but hey, man, I
The God of War.
The God of War. Yeah, that's as well. And I think it's right. And you look at the age. You looking at their features, you would think Matt Frivola is the younger guy. But Benoit is only 27, and Frivola is getting into about to start getting into his late 30s. He's like 32 right now. But man, minus 175 BSD, plus 190 Matt Frivola. I'll be honest, I flipped my pick. I originally had BSD. I really thought that he can just walk through Matt Frivola's shot. That's what I was thinking. But I just had to take the local guy here. I really think that the crowd's going to play a factor, especially in this one. Yeah. Like you said, New York State guy. He's at home. The corner he's going to have, the crowd's going to be behind him. I got to take Steamroller in this spot, not only as my dog of the day at plus 190. I got the biggest prop bet for you on the card.
What?
I'm taking Steamroller via submission at plus 1,500, baby. Let's ride.
No knockout, huh? Why?
I think he could drop him and just guillotine a sub or whatever. I really do. I think it'll happen. Actually, I think they're going to be in a war in the first round. And if they get out of there, I think it'll be a war of attrition. Who's going to last the most in the second? Because they're going to be throwing shots at each other come that second round. And it's going to be last man standing.
Yeah, this is a banger. To be honest, I was leaning with our boy Matt Steamroller Frivola. It's hard to go against these Serra-Longo. They're fighting in their backyard. They're going to have 60, 70 people in the crowd. That might not sound like a lot, but they're going to get the crowd behind them. We saw it in Newark, where he's not even from, get a huge ovation when he knocked out Drew Dober. But you kind of realize like they were going to cross paths eventually in this lightweight division. They got fucking killers here. And, I think it's a very interesting fight because Matt Frivola, he's putting up his 14th ranked ranking against a guy that just wants to bury you. And these guys, I'll say this, I don't think the fight's going to go the distance. I think these guys are going to go and just try to rip each other's heads off. I'm rooting for the prop kid. It was going to be another heart bet, Joe, for me, and I was going to just take the dog, but I didn't want to make too many heart plays, and I hope everyone understands that. But
absolutely,
biasly, I am rooting for Matt Frivola here.
Yep, and we were chatting at the Newark card. Steamroller, the whole crowd was, and
the whole crowd. It wasn't just us.
People, that's a lot of people in your corner, man. That's
and not just them. You got his they're not brothers, but you and I are brothers. Yeah. They got Nazim. He trains at Serra-Longo. Even that's the first guy.
When the wins start accumulating, all the momentum's going towards him, and that's who I have. I have his teammates. So man, that will work in our favor.
Hopefully, it's a clean sleep.
And then why you're saying you see a finish in it, that's why I was surprised they didn't start the card off with this fight, because I think this one is going to be a even better fight than the Pat Sabatini and Diego Lopez fight. Unfortunately, because I think a lot of people are hoping, for that one. So let's get into the next one, where your girl, Mackenzie Dern, is taking on arguable Hall of Famer or BMW, BMF, women's BMF, Jessica Andrade, plus 170. Dern is a minus 175. Give you my play, and it's Mackenzie Dern, minus 175. I'm taking her straight up because I see she can probably get this done anyway. And if it wants to go into the judges' scorecards, I think it's her fight to lose. And the reason why I took it straight up on the money line is because she is the final leg of the 2-leg back on track parlay. As you know, she's going off track with her ex and the other fights, and the same thing with Flash Gordon. So I think them two need these wins, and both at minus 175 to get value out of it. Putting them together gives you a 2-leg parlay at plus 147. It's the back on track parlay between the two of them.
I love it, Joe. Yeah, you said your lock was the fight to go to distance. The other one, this is my lock of the night. Under 2.5 rounds here. Woo! Minus 172. It's crazy to think, Joe, but back in January, Jessica Andrade was coming off a huge win against Lauren Murphy, where she just picked her apart for 3 rounds. Now we fast forward to today, and she's trying to avoid a 4th straight loss. It's crazy how fast this sport moves. I agree. I do like Dern for a side. I think she is the right price, but she is getting there. I'm glad you got a minus 175. She's ballooned over to a over a $2 favorite. Like I said, it's a little above my price range, but I agree. I think the smart play is to put it in one of your parlays. But like I said, I like the under. Jessica Andrade is the queen of chaos. 10 of her last 12 fights have gone under 2.5 rounds, and 8 of them have been finished in the first round. She likes to push the pace, and if it hits the floor, we've already seen her get submitted twice this year. And who's better to get a submission than our girl Mackenzie Dern? So I think she has multiple ways to win this fight. I think there's multiple ways this fight could end, period. And I just think both of these women want to put on a show. Should be a very fun fight. I think both of these women fights should be very exciting. Give me under 2.5 rounds, minus 172 as my official play.
I love it. I think we're getting very high level women's fights on this card, and I'm excited for it. I really am.
100%.
So let's go into the co-main event, and I'm excited. I mean, between this and the main event, I couldn't tell you where my heart or my brain lies. I'm really so torn. Looking at the destroyer that is Sergey Pavlovich, he is a dog on the lines I'm seeing, and that just seems wrong to me. I do see some pick'ems as well, but for him to put as a dog, man, I really think that he should have came in as a favorite because we've seen the vulnerability of Tommy Boy. But man, I really think England is going to get their second champ. I really do. I really think we're going to get a heavyweight English champ here. You know, you got to look at the past. Yeah, there's been issues with Tommy Boy, but Sergey Pavlovich got knocked out by Alistair Overeem in the first round. That's his loss. And I know that was a long time ago. But man, you could be so physically intimidating and just be a destroyer, like built like a robot Pavlovich is. But all it takes is a nice technical touch on the chin from Tommy Aspinall, baby. And he gets the job done. I will be picking him on the pick. I'm at minus 110. But I do have a safe bet because of the concern about these two guys. I think both are very capable of finishing this in the first round. So I do have, surprising I found this fight to end in round 1 at minus 120. Easy fighter get victory in first round. That hit for y'all. But I am taking the Englishman. I'm taking Tom Aspinall to be the second English champ. And I actually think he'll be a better champ for the UFC as well. You know, unfortunately, English speaking, but it's just his personality. He carried a press conference all by himself, to be completely honest. Tom Aspinall is the champ we need. And I'm putting the energy out there. I want him to be the champion. So I'm looking for both to hit in this. I'm hoping my pick hits with Aspinall at minus 110. And then I'm hoping for him to get it done in the first round because my verdict play is him knocking Sergey Pavlovich out in round 1.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, real quick, fight ends in round 1, minus 132. I think that is a very good play. That's the current odds right now. I was looking at the under 1.5. It's over minus a $2 favorite, which is understandable. You know, these guys are going to do it. I want to give a quick shout out to Alistair Overeem, though, man. He's officially retired, going off, and that's no. You know, oh, that's like a fluke. Alistair Overeem is one of the best ever. Like, I want to give him his roses.
And real quick, that's where I made the comparison because I look at Tom Aspinall and I see the kickboxing capabilities and the techniques he throws, which are somewhat similar to Alistair. And I'm like, damn, I'm glad you mentioned that because I had no idea he officially retired. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I got to, well, hold up. I did want to ask you this. This is for the interim belt. Are we declaring him the champ? I don't think we could disrespect the GOAT like that, Joe.
Yeah,
I don't.
I get you, man. Yeah, I guess you're right. But he would still be holding a belt, and so would make him a champ, even though it's interim.
Yes. Now,
I don't think it would diminish John, but
no.
I think that, you know, you definitely need a belt on Sergey.
Yeah.
And I think Tommy is just going to promote it better.
100%. No, he carried the press conference yesterday. I agree on that. And there's only, you would know more than me, but from what my recollection, they've only defended an interim belt twice in UFC history, Robert Whittaker and one other fighter, but they don't
might have been
usually...
Tony Ferguson.
they usually don't defend him. So it's kind of weary. That's I was just wondering because you did say he's going to be the champ, but I just don't want to disrespect someone.
Yeah,
who's
I get you.
here.
I get you. You know, you're right. There wasn't many defenses, but most of the interim champs wind up unifying the belt. So
yes, 100%. Now, as for my play, I agree, Joe. Give me Tommy, our boy Tommy Aspinall here on short notice. This is a must play for me, to be honest. In 16 fights, there have been 16 finishes, 13 coming in the first round. I think this fight is going to be intensity from the very first second. Both of these guys push the pace, and we know what Pavlicek wants to do. He wants to knock your lights out. While Tommy could switch it up, I just think he has more ways to win this fight. He could win on the floor. We've seen him get submission wins before. Coming in on short notice, this has nothing to do on short notice. He's been preparing for this fight for his whole life. I think he's going to seize the moment at the most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. And just watching Sergey Pavlicek's last few fights, I think his game plan might want to wrestle him. You know, like I said, we've seen Tommy get submission wins before, and he's just nasty when he gets on top of you. Maybe sprinkle a little Tom Aspinall via submission, but I think he gets the job done early. I mean, these guys have never seen a third round, to be honest. No. So I love the prop to fight to end in the first round. I'll probably be having a little pizza bet on that, but give me the second English world champion, Tommy Aspinall on the money line, -115.
I love it. I'm glad we're on the same side. And for those that are saying Pavlovich can't wrestle, he obviously can. And to say that Tom Aspinall can't hang with the different reach advantage, I mean, that's not okay. You can't diminish these guys. Both of them got to a title fight. They worked their whole lives to get here. I think both guys are equally capable of finishing one another. They're both highly technical. I really am so torn in this one, but I just, I had to go. This is my heart play. It is Tommy because, like I said, I think it's just better for the UFC. I would like to see him as champ as well. And I think going forward, it makes for a more interesting fight. The matchups do.
I do think he would be a better. No disrespect, I do like Sergey Pavlicek, but I do think Tommy Aspinall would be a better champ.
Yep, that's all that is. I just think he has gone through some adversity, Tom Aspinall, and he's overcome it. I don't think Sergey Pavlovich he's ran through everybody, and the only time he hasn't is when he got knocked out by Alistair. Whenever he had to go through some adversity, he kind of crumbled. So I'm not to say that he's anything like that, but Tom Aspinall has proven to us that he can overcome this adversity. I think we have yet to see that be done with Pavlovich.
Now, will he crumble tomorrow night is the $1 million question.
That is the $1 million question. Right on. And that just segues us right into this main event. And boy, am I ready. I mean, all the promo. If you couldn't get a better fight to replace the John Jones, Stipe Miocic fight that we lost, I really think that this is the bee's knees and legacy defining for both guys. You would think maybe the heavyweights stay it, but this is for the belt. It's not for an interim. And these two guys deserve their flowers. I really believe it. Alex Pereira, Hall of Famer glory, very well could be arguably, if he comes out with a victory, one of the greatest sports combat athletes of all time, Alex Poatan Pereira. But Jiri Prochazka is nothing to be slept on here. I mean, what is it? 26 professional fights that he won, and 25 of them are finishes or even more than that. I mean, he's vicious, bro. Just the words he says just sends shivers down my spine. And, Alex don't got to say anything. And just the way he looks at you, just the same. And it's so scary to see this main event happen. I really don't know what to expect, man. I really like Alex Pereira a lot. I love the dude, to be honest with you. I think he was great for the UFC, and I think he's done wonderful. He's done a lot for the sport as a whole. But Jiri Prochazka, man, I mean, living in the darkness, living in the woods, living with the samurai Bushido code. This dude is just nuts, bro. He's psychotic. And I just think this is one of the rare occasions where unorthodox is going to work in his favor. I'm the type of guy who likes, traditional moves, like orthodox techniques that have been proven time and time again to work. And going into this, I think you would have expected me to take Alex, but I got to take Jiri in the spot, man. I think the dog is live. maybe the most live on the card just because of the age as well. We got to think that even though Alex has been showing up, he's 36 now and Yuri's in his prime at 31. So I think, even though we hit with the Ageless Wonder and the Danish Dynamite last week and Nicholas Dalby, I actually think age is kind of caught up to Alex Pereira. I got to go with Yuri, man. I hate to say, my fear is with this too, is if Yuri does win, this is the last time we ever see Alex, man. I really think that if he doesn't win, he may retire. And I think that's something you guys got to think about. But if he wins, we're getting more of him. So I do hope for that, but I had to take the dub because I just see Yuri so live in this fight.
Yeah, Joe, I think I messed up with props today. Where's my samurai sword? I mean, this guy was just allowed to walk into New York with samurai swords walking around. This guy's a maniac, and I love him, to be honest. And I think he is the true champion. He never lost his belt. Credit to him, letting the division move on, so to speak, and kind of vacate his belt. I do think if and when he wins, he will fight Jamal Hill when ready. Another guy that kind of lost his belt due to an injury. But I know Alex Pereira, great champion, great overall MMA fighter. Everyone's saying he's undefeated at MSG. He's the only fighter to headline MSG twice now. I don't give a hoot, as our good friend Ricky Gonzalez would say. Give me Yuri Prochazka on the money line, plus 110, excuse me. Despite what others think, I do think this fight will actually have some patience and a little bit more of a feeling out process. I don't think we'll see rounds 4 and 5, but I do think Yuri Prochazka finds a way to take out Alex Pereira, maybe in the second or third round. I think Yuri Prochazka's pathway to victory is to get a knockout. Someone's going to go to sleep. Hopefully it's the Brazilian. He never lost his belt, and now traveling all the way from the Czech Republic to the beautiful state of New York to take back what belongs to him. How can I not take him? Give me and still Yuri Prochazka on the money line plus 110, and I would even sprinkle a little on him via KO TKO at plus 195. He's going to defeat the father and the son and send them both to Danbury, Connecticut.
Oh God. I mean, he may have their number, man. But saying that, and still, I think Jamal Hill may have something to say about that. Our boy.
And my question, I'm glad you brought that up. Why, when Yuri vacated his belt, they immediately took him down on the UFC rankings, but Jamal's vacated it, and his picture is still the champ for what, 5-6 months?
I don't know.
They don't like him, and Yuri Prochazka is going to prove the world wrong.
There you go. I do think he shocks the public in this spot, man. And I think you hit the analysis correct because my verdict prediction is Yuri Prochazka submission in the third round. So I do think that we don't see the championship rounds in this one. I think he could finish in a second. Alex could chin him in the second, man. That's always possible too. So, how unorthodox he is. I think he can get caught out, but I just think in this occasion, it'll work. And if this grappling comes into play, who's got the advantage. Yuri does. So Yuri Prochazka was my third round submission. Tom Aspinall, I had him with the first round knockout, chinning Sergey, which is probably shocking to all. I got another one for you is Mackenzie Dern, and she's going to decision in this one. I just think, like you said, Andrade, she could bring it. So I honestly, I got Dern going to win the judges' scorecards. Matt Frivola is the submission for me, but I have it happening in the second round. And then Pat Sabatini, I think Diego Lopez is tough enough to not get finished and wind up to the judges, but Pat Sabatini will have dominated throughout. So I gave you my verdict predictions. I gave you my plays, and I'll do it for the main card of UFC 295.
Joe, good luck tomorrow on Veterans Day. Can't wait for that at Madison Square Garden. Early start time because we got the early prelims, 6 p.m. here on the East Coast. Prelims start at 8. Main card, 10 p.m. on pay-per-view. Joe, I can't fucking wait for this fight. Going to be amazing. Let's get into some MMA news. Speaking of the lightweights, Jan Blachowicz, Polish power, and the return of Alexander Rakic. That's in the works for UFC 297, January 20th in Toronto. Not finalized, but is expected to happen. Thoughts on this? You like this return fight for Rakic?
I'll be honest. I don't know if I'm correct. I think I got to shout out my boy Uncle Fonz here in this one because I think he called it. I think he said something about Jan Blachowicz having like one of the shorter primes. He has kind of fallen from grace, and Alexander Rakic, and granted he's come off an injury, but he's got to be the more fresher fighter. So my lean would probably be Alexander Rakic. I hate to say, because I love Polish power, baby.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting, Jan Blachowicz coming off that tough loss against Alex Pereira, those leg kicks. So we'll see. Should be a very good fight. I'm glad they booked this one for the return of Alexander Rakic. But huge news breaking by Dana White. 3 title fights leading up to UFC 300, main event UFC 297. We thought it was going to be Volkanovski Topuria. They pushed it back. Volkanovski took on Islam on short notice. We got Sean Strickland taking on DDP, UFC 297 in Toronto, Canada. Volkanovski, Ilia Topuria, main event UFC 298 and UFC 299 in March. Sugar Sean O'Malley, the champ, taking on Chito Vera 2. Remember Chito Vera, those leg kicks. He did get the win a few years ago. Now getting his rematch for the belt. I mean, what bangers. I guess it's all leading up to UFC 300, Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler.
Yep.
But, we were talking earlier this week. I think the most technical is Volkanovski Topuria, but what I'm most intrigued, and I guess the storyline, is Sugar Sean Chito Vera number 2. What are your thoughts on all 3, and what's your favorite, and I guess what's your least favorite?
Okay, my least favorite is actually Alex Volkanovski and Ilia Topuria. I know you said that's going to be the higher technical fight. I've been concerned about Volkanovski since the beginning of the year, since he had the surgery, and I kind of think it continues as well. So I'm just fearful for him, to be honest with you. Ilia Topuria is a problem. He actually is. So I hope that he comes to fight, and that stepping on short notice with Islam doesn't affect him all too much. He got knocked out that way. So I'm least. That's the least one. I guess Ilia Topuria, if you're going to ask me whose line is it anyway, he would be the dog. That Volkanovski would be favored. Then after that, I think it would be Sean Strickland, DDP. I like that one. I think DDP is interesting because he just brings a whole level of athleticism that I don't think we really have accustomed to, and it's awkward. But Sean should piece him up. Sean should outbox him. Sean should deny takedowns, and he should, honestly, Sean should fuck him up. I'll be honest with you. And I want Sean to be the champ, to be honest with you. So that's my opinion on those 2. But like you said, the most interesting fight, that's Sean O'Malley and Chito Vera fight. Chito's live, baby. I call Sean O'Malley with the second round knockout of Aljamain Sterling, and you think I'm going to continue the trend, but I'm giving you a play now. I'm taking the dog. I'm taking Marlon Chito Vera to beat Sean O'Malley come March.
Wow. So lines real quick. UFC 297, minus 163 for Sean Strickland, plus 132 on the other side for DDP. UFC 298, Alexander Volkanovski, minus 175, plus 130, Ilia Topuria. Make sure you write that down because I'm going to bet that right now. And you're right. Sean O'Malley is the favorite, minus 198. I see $2 favorite somewhere, and the best price you could get on Chito Vera right now, plus 164.
Taking it. Right now, yeah. I'll put a ticket in right now.
It's crazy. Out of those 3 main events, Joe, I like 2 dogs, Ilia Topuria, Chito Vera, and I like Sean Strickland. I think he beats up DDP.
We agree on all of them. That's crazy.
But I don't want to say,
we got to wait as we get closer to fights as well.
Yes, 100%. And people,
but that's rare. We're never really on the same side.
No, we're not. And I kind of like that. A lot of people are saying, why is DDP getting it? I thought Khamzat, he broke his fucking hand. He's going to be out for a few months. And I'm not rooting for DDP, but let's give the man his flowers. He just knocked off a Hall of Famer and Robert Whittaker and finished him. Yeah, I think he deserves a title fight. I'm just being unbiased here. Am I wrong, Joe?
No, you're absolutely right. Bobby Knuckles is one of my favorite fighters on the roster, and I think that's the type of guy. If you beat, you're right. You do deserve a title shot. And with all the happenings in that middleweight division, Izzy losing his title, and Khamzat being hurt, now being introduced to that weight class. It makes sense. I just think a lot of people don't want it to.
Yeah, they're haters on DDP, and I get it. Moving along, Taila Santos, unsurprisingly, she's parted ways with the UFC this in the middle of the week. Kind of surprising. I thought it came out of nowhere. She lost her tough fight to Valentina Shevchenko. She lost to Erin Blanchfield. Maybe she finds a home at PFL, but what are your thoughts here? I really thought she had the makings of maybe a future champ.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Did she fail a test? Did she just
No
have
real
a
news. She just that was her last
contractual
fight on her.
obligations? So she
Yeah,
fulfilled her contract and they didn't
yes,
re-sign her. So it's
they
not
didn't
even
re-sign. Like a
a
parting
cut.
ways.
Yeah, it's just they didn't re-sign her, actually. So I think that's kind of like a misleading headline, if you would. Not from you, but from the news sources. And,
Yeah.
Talia Santos, she's talented enough to make her home elsewhere. I just don't necessarily think that PFL may be her home. I think, she might be needing to fight some, like, regional in Brazil until
How about
she maybe.
Invicta?
Yeah, I mean, that's always live for female fighters going in. But I think maybe, Talia, she might step away from the game altogether. You never know.
Really?
I mean, that's always plausible that she just takes a break maybe from the game for a meanwhile, or she does retire from the sport altogether, not being in the UFC, and has to just continue with her life because, you're making a better living there than anywhere else. Like I say, if she's going to have to wind up fitting regionally in Brazil, I don't think that's really the best thing for her, but that might be her best option in getting back to the UFC if that's what she really wants to do. But she's got to be committed, and maybe that's a fear that they had, her commitment level. Did she miss weight at all? Has she
I
had
don't know,
issues
but it
with weight
was
cutting?
she only fought one time in the last year and a half, like 18 months. So
Yeah.
it's a consistency.
Maybe she
the
wasn't playing
UFC
ball with the
doesn't like that.
UFC as much.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%. So I do think she is talented enough to be in the UFC or at the PFL. So I do hope she finds a home because I know I was rooting against her in both of those fights that I mentioned between the Valentina and Aaron Blanchfield, but Talia Santos is a good fighter. So
Hey, bare
hopefully she
knuckles
finds
always
a home.
there because Bellator ain't coming a knocking.
UFC Shanghai, we broke last week, December 9th in Shanghai, China. We have a main event. Song Yadong will take on Chris Gutierrez. 5-round main event. Joe, I showed it to you during the middle of the week, and I said I was kind of confused. I'm glad they got a Chinese fighter to headline it. Are you surprised that it was Song Yadong?
No. So Song Yadong, I think, was supposed to be in another main event that got taken away from him prior. So I think he is the old one, and why it makes most sense to be in Shanghai. I think we also had the question of Chris Gutierrez and his ability to be in a main event slot. So I think that was reasonable, but I do think that he's kind of live because I do think he's got dog in him, Chris Gutierrez does. As it gets later in the fight, it will absolutely favor him, but we know he has to get out of that first round, and Song Yadong is as explosive as they come. I don't know what they're got an award over there in China, but Zhang Weili and Song Yadong, they're built like some of the most aesthetically pleasing fighters you could possibly see. They're super athletic and super explosive. It's impressive.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And he's well coached. I hate to admit it, but Team Alpha Male, what they're doing over there in Sacramento with Uriah Faber, he's well coached. I just think it's very interesting from Song Yadong's point of view. He's in the top 10 in the bantamweight division, sitting at number 7, putting his 7th ranking on the line against Chris Gutierrez, who's 14th. Kind of surprising. You really don't see.
The crowd will be behind him. He wants that main event. He wants his notoriety. I think Song knows what he can gain out of this fight.
Yeah, and if he puts him away early behind his home crowd, the place is going to erupt.
Absolutely.
We got a rematch here, kid. UFC Vegas 83. I think it's going to be the main event. We don't know. If not, it will be the co-main event. Manel Cap will rematch Mataus Nikolai, UFC 83 at the Apex, January 13th. You like this rematch? He called for Kai Kara France. Kai Kara France is still on the mem. He's still hurt, but he winds up getting the rematch.
I like it. I'll probably be favoring Manel Kape. He's one of my favorite fighters.
Yeah.
But I think as it gets closer to fight, I got to look into Matthew Nicolau a little bit because he is a dog. I'll be honest. That dude, he can grapple with the best of them. And what we've seen him in his last, I'm pretty sure he knocked someone out clean. Yeah. So, man, I got to look into that fight a little more. But going into it, I like Manel Kape.
UFC 297, like I said, taking place in Toronto, January 20th. We have another Canadian added to the card. Charles Air Jourdain will take on Sean Woodson, both coming off wins. You like the hometown kid here, Charles Jourdain?
I do. I liked everything he said in his last outing when we saw him in Newark. He disappointed a lot of people, but, at the end of the day, he's game, and I like Air Jourdain, and this is a good matchup for him. I hope he gets it done, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I do too. You got great fights. You got Neil Magny taking on Mike Malott. You got there's
That's
gonna
a
be really good
barn burner
fight
right there.
Oh
Absolutely.
my god, I can't wait. Joe, last thing I wanted to get your opinion on real quick because I've heard all this backlash, even from UFC greats like RDA, who I'll be banging on the drum for Hall of Fame. But you got our boy Tony Ferguson training with David Goggins, and
I
a
love
lot of
it.
people are saying, yes, it might help you mentally deal with the fight, but training with him for a
It'll
week
slow
is
him
not going
down.
to help you. It will slow him down. It's not going to help you against Patty. Right now, Patty Pimblin is a minus 300 favorite. Tony Ferguson is sitting at a plus 260. And I'm going to give you a David Goggins quote. They don't know me, son. And give me Tony Ferguson because
Yeah.
I do think it's going to help him.
I do as well. And here's why. They said the mental thing. Tony's already been mentally tough. I don't think that's what it is. I honestly think you got to look at Patty Pimblett's game. I think we're going to have to take the grappling out of this one because I really think that Tony Ferguson has good enough jiu-jitsu to just negate anything that Patty's going to throw his way that way. And Patty is more traditional in his stand-up as Tony is more unorthodox. But Patty just, he kind of throws caution to the wind and tries to get down and dirty, starts brawling in there. And that's where this conditioning with David Goggins is going to come into play for Tony because I think he has had control of his own strength and conditioning throughout his career. And I think that actually, he's always been that guy, blazing shades. He's always been able to stick in it with his own strength and conditioning. But David Goggins is absolutely going to push him to a new level. And if it gets into those brawling exchanges where normally Tony Ferguson would kind of start wilting, I think he's going to get stronger in this one. And as Patty starts to fade, I think you're going to see the reurgence of Tony Ferguson. 5 fights in a title. Give me El Cucuy, baby.
Let's go. Not hopefully, but maybe fighting for his career. If El Cucuy winds up losing this one, that'll be 6. I mean, we all love him. He's a future Hall of Famer, but the UFC is in the business of making money. And at that point, I just don't know who he fights after this. But no, I agree. Patty's a scouser, like they say over there in Liverpool, and he does hang his chin up there a lot. So I do think Tony Ferguson can piece him up. I agree 100%, Joe. Just don't like the disrespect that they're giving towards David Goggins and our boy Tony Ferguson. But Joe, that's all the news. 100%. 100%. Before we get up out of here, 10 seconds stuff. We got picks for during the week and boxing. What do you got, kid?
Yes, sir. And I went undefeated last week. I had bare knuckle plays for you. But hey, Cage Warriors 163. O'Mill Brown takes on Giannis Bachar. Give me the dog. I got dogs barking all weekend for you guys. Bachar plus 230 for Cage Warriors. KSW Polish MMA is at its 88th event. And we got Daniel Rotowski taking on Patrick Kamarsik. I took Patrick Kamarsik before. I'm going to take him again. And he's a $2 dog. So I got another dog in that one. Might as well go with the co-main event. Give me Gabriel Jolik at minus 120. These heavyweights clash. And as you mentioned, we got boxing and taking place in New Jersey. Shakur Stevenson's taking on Edwin De Los Santos. And I got to take Ashakur Nafi Shahid Stevenson via KO, TKO, or DQ at plus 300. And hell, another boxing fight on Thursday. I don't know why Thursday's the night. Emmanuel Navarrete Vaquero via KO, TKO, DK at plus 250. I got both these props for you live in boxing. We'll review it next week.
Let's fucking go. Hometown kid fighting in his backyard in Newark, New Jersey. Hopefully we could get tickets to that. That would be fucking cool to see Shakur put on a show. By the way, KSW is my boy Phil DeFries, heavyweight champ. Is he fighting this week?
No, he's not, but he's still champ.
He's the fucking man. And
that's 10 seconds left, baby.
He trains with our boy Tommy Aspinall, who will get the win this weekend. Joe, thank you so much. That is going to do it for this Friday edition of Axe Kick Picks. On behalf of our sponsor, Viva Tequila, Joey, myself, we will see you guys next week with plenty of picks and plenty of hot takes. Follow along our social media, X and Instagram at Axe Kick Picks. We go live every Friday afternoon on YouTube, youtube.com/Axe Kick Picks live. You guys can find all of our episodes if you missed one, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. If you haven't already, subscribe, rate, like, review, all that good stuff really helps the show grow tremendously. So be a friend, tell a friend. Good luck on your wagers this weekend. Be safe, be well. We'll see you guys down the road. Peace.